Hey, everybody. Good morning. How are you doing? It's another amazing Thursday, and my hair is all over the place. Right after I talk to you, I get to go and have my hair cut, so that's super exciting. And to be perfectly honest, I look a little bit tired because it's one of those nights. It was one of those nights where my husband was out of town, and I don't know about you, but I'm so used to sharing my bed that when he's not here, it's really hard to sleep. So I was up to like 1:30 reading because I don't know. Anyway, so if I look a little bit, you know, drawn, that's the reason. But I'm really glad to be here with you. Good morning. Today, we're going to talk about increasing your revenue by digging into data that often we don't even know that we've got. Of course, if you're here live, say hi. I always love it when you ask questions or you enter the conversation. So do that. If you're watching the replay, let me know. It's always nice to know that you've been here. And if you want the notes, put the word notes in, and I'll send you the notes from this conversation. Usually they're done in about a week and a half. And I'll send them directly to you in your messages. And I'm going to offer something at the end, like I'm going to give you something at the end that's going to really help you with your data collection. Okay. So if you just hold on, I think it'll be in the comments. I think that's the best place to put it. So go look there when we're done because I can't do that while I'm talking. Okay. So let's talk about data. Data. When I say those words, so many people just blank out because when we say the word data, we think numbers. And then from there, we're like, oh my God, numbers. And so many of us just want to put our heads in the sand when it comes to math, comes to like trying to figure stuff out or understand what numbers are telling us. And so we pretend that we are ostriches and put our heads in the sand. So blah, 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 as if it'll go away. So here's the thing. Data, yes, data, numbers and your finances are definitely a kind of data, okay? That is actually not the data that we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about other data that is buried in uh, the history of how you've been in business since the beginning, that and how to use the knowledge, how to use this history, how to compile this data in such a way that it can impact your ability to increase your revenue. Okay. So when you first start your business, you have no data, right? There's no history. You're figuring things out. You are trying to figure out what the specific perfect offer, what it is that your solution offers, the result that you produce, who it is that is best suited to want the offer, to sell the offer to. And, at the beginning, even though most people, when they start a business, have an idea of what they're offering, it takes a while to bring that idea down to a place where it's viable enough that people are buying it, that you've really learned how to sell that particular offer. You feel confident in the result that you produce so that you can speak confidently in your messaging to the specific people for whom that solution is the solution that they're looking for, right? So while you're in the startup phase, and I'm going to say that the startup phase, lasts at least a year, if not 3, where you're figuring all this out. And most of us, or all of us, have gone through this period where, we talk a lot about ideal client and what that means and honing an offer. Like, we've all been there. However, most of us think that once we have it dialed in, that's it. Like, we know what that is and that's it. But I don't know if you are experiencing the same thing that me and my clients experience, which is that our businesses really have a life of their own and that nothing is really set in stone in that way. Instead, what happens over time, if you're paying attention, is that everything gets honed in. It gets dialed in. And sometimes just by accident or just in the process of doing business, but it's a lot more effective if you if you work specifically to dial it in a strategic manner. Okay. So, uh, so today we're going to talk about this other data, and let's talk a little bit about what raising revenue, what is that actually? So when we think about increasing our revenue, what we're really talking about is making more sales to more people, or increasing our prices, or both, right? Or yeah, those are really the ways to increase your revenue, is making more sales to more people or raising your prices. Okay, so more sales is more sales to new clients or new customers, to current clients, and or to past clients. And at the beginning, first of all, we don't have any current or past clients at the very beginning. All we've got is new clients, which is where we focus our energy. But over time, we have all of these different groups, and we have a history. We can look back and look at who the clients were specifically, what they bought, at what price point did they buy it, what were the result they got from it, what was the value of that result to them specifically, what could they do afterwards that they couldn't do before. And this is true whether or not you're selling a program or you're selling a product. Like, what is it? All these questions about the efficacy or the importance or value of the solution that you're selling and to whom you're selling is actually in your business history. Okay. So when clients come to me and we are working on increasing their revenue, there's the very first thing I have them do in this regard is create a spreadsheet so that we can start digging into the history or the data that they've got. So I'm going to tell you about the spreadsheet. Okay. So what I have people do is I have them go back in their history up until 3 or 4 years, whatever they've got. If they have been in business for 10, 12 years, that's a lot of time, right? So we tend to focus on the last 3 to 5 years of client history. And we create a spreadsheet. Yay, spreadsheet. So, of course, the first column is the client name, but it's not just all the clients. So what we're looking for here are the people who have spent the most money with you over the history of their relationship with you. Okay? So you put them in an order of how much money they've spent with you, and you take the top 25 or however many you've got, and you put them in column A, and then the amount of money that they spent. And then the next few columns are demographics, like gender, perhaps, location. If it's a business, what is their role? Age. Sometimes your solution has to do with or serves better ages than others. Relationship status, if that's important, right? So really the kind of the demographics of who your ideal client is. And then these are the next really important columns. So the first question that you want to answer in the column is, why did they buy from you? What were they looking for when they came to you, and why you? Okay. Second question is, what did they buy from you? Then what was the result that they got from the solution that they bought from you? What could they do afterwards, after they bought the program or after they bought the product or whatever service they bought from you? What could they do afterwards that they couldn't do before? And then What was the value of that to them? And however you can quantify that. So if you make this spreadsheet and then you start to look at, this is data, this is really important. Oh, and then, okay, sorry, I totally forgot about these other columns. So you want to know where did they come from? Where did these particular clients come from? So when I think about where my clients come from, I always think that I have really 5 client acquisition strategies, right? So I'm going to tell you what my 5 are. There's networking, there is speaking, there are social media, there are conferences, period, that I go to, and there is what I call direct selling, which is when I happen to be someplace like on an airplane and I start talking to somebody, and that then brings me a client, right? Somewhere where I'm just having a conversation and then they're coming. So I have 5 strategies that I use in my client acquisition systems. Okay. So you want to column for whatever strategy of your strategies that you use. How did that client come to you? And then you want a column that says specifically what part of that strategy. So for instance, if I met somebody through networking, what specific networking event? Or if a client came to me through social media, what specific platform did they come through, right? So all of this data, all of this history should be, it's part of the intake that you, and the conversations that you have with people when they come into your business. So, and I'm going to tell you more about how I do that in a second, but we're talking about doing this after the fact, right? Like most of the people that I work with haven't kept these records in this form from the time they were in business. So I have them gather all this information. So here you have this spreadsheet, you have all of this information here. And then what we're looking for we're looking for trends. So is there similarities for the specific reason why people came to you? Are there similarities in the specific result that they got afterwards? There should be. If you have a viable business, there should be. And then there's the larger, for instance, perhaps there's the larger category of the result that they have. Maybe it is, right, they increase their revenue. Let's just say that. But then the specific result that you're looking for is, well, out of these 20 clients, 10 of them, how they increased their revenue was they each got 5 more clients a month, let's say, or they increased their price by so much. And that is a specific result. So you're looking now for specific trends and specific results based on these different demographics. Maybe for the first time, you're starting to see that there is actually a difference between your clients that come to you who are in their 20s. They get better results than people who are in their 40s. I don't know. I'm just, right? This is just a possibility. But you have to have all of this information in one place so you can start to see what the information is telling you in reality, not just anecdotally or not just how you're thinking, but in reality, what has happened, what is actually so. Does that make sense? And then you use it to inform where you're going to put your time and where you're going to put your energy. So those last 2 columns that I was talking about the strategies that you've used for client acquisition, and then their specifics, I actually will sit down and I will calculate, for how much revenue came in specifically from networking. And then I break it down further, how much of that revenue came from each specific networking event that I participated in. How much revenue came in from speaking, and then specifically each specific place that I spoke, how much revenue did that bring me, right? So that is giving me information about where to spend my marketing time, where to spend my marketing dollars. So I'll tell you a story. There used to be this, God, everything used to be, because of course the pandemic, we didn't have any in-person networking, and in-person networking has been a huge strategy of mine. And so there was a networking group that I attended in Portland for, I don't know, 6 years. And I'd go every month, and it was really fun. And I'd get to see all the people that I knew. There's so many cool entrepreneurs in Portland, all women. And it was always a place to reconnect. And yet I always walked away feeling like it wasn't actually making a difference in my business. Like, people wouldn't become my clients. And I had to decide at the end of the year whether or not this was a group that I was going to continue to be part of. So when I sat down to do this work of actually analyzing, okay, my time and my dollars and the revenue that came from that, and whether or not that made sense if it was an equal exchange, what I found was fascinating. So I spent my time going, and I didn't get any direct revenue, but here's what did happen. I got a ton of referrals. Oh yeah, so referrals are another strategy for acquisition, except they're a passive strategy, because you don't feel like you actually have control over referrals, right? They just happen. So at this networking event, what I found is that while the people that I was meeting with, or seeing every month and even having coffee with afterwards, weren't the ones who were signing up or to work with me, they were consistently referring people to come work with me who I didn't know, who weren't at this networking group. And this is not like a one of those networking groups where the focus is bringing referrals, right? It wasn't that at all. It was an open networking group where it was really about creating relationships over the long term, getting to know each other, looking for power partners, that kind of a networking group, right? Like hanging out together almost. And I found that it actually did make sense to keep going, even though I was not directly bringing in clients, because the referral amount more than made up, I think, 80% of all the business that I had done in the year previous. I was like, that is insane. And so, of course, I put more energy in there, right? That gave me actual data and numbers to make a decision as to where I should then spend the next year's worth of energy. The same kind of calculations made it clear which networking groups and which speaking engagements that I had done in the past just weren't making a difference, and they didn't have any ROI, and so I wasn't going to spend any more time there. So that kind of information about your current client acquisition program is really useful when you're looking to see, okay, so where am I going to spend my time for the next 90 days? Where am I going to put my cash, my marketing dollars, in order to generate more business for the next 90 days, based on what you already know, what the information that you already have, that you've just never compiled. That's a really clear pathway. The other data that I'm talking about, that has to do with the results that you produce and the value of those results to a specific kind of client, that is less, that is not math. You're not figuring out exactly, specifically, the causation equal to dollars, right? It's more looking at trends. It's more about honing the offer specifically to, and honing to whom you offer it to, so that you're capturing more of the people for whom you are providing the highest value to. Does that make sense? So keeping records and being clear about what information you want to capture from the history of how you do business is really important. So one of the things I'm going to give you, if you're interested, so if you want this, tell me, okay? Tell me that you want it. It's a tracking sheet. I have been using this tracking sheet since the very first day I was in business. And actually May 9th is my ninth anniversary in business of this of Dana Corey Coaching, which is so exciting. So we're getting to my ninth anniversary. Okay, so it's a tracking sheet, and it allows you to see a bunch of things. Doesn't it allow you to see all of the things that I was talking about? Because when I first started, I didn't actually realize that it made sense to look to see the demographics and the results and all this. But this is a really good start. So this tracking sheet shows you what you've sold. It shows you, of course, the names of the client. It shows you what client acquisition strategy, how they came to you, the specifics of that strategy. It shows you how per month, how much each client paid you and for how long. It shows you when, let's say you have a 6-month program and people join it and they leave in 3 months. So it shows you that, how many people don't go all the way to the end. It shows you both the sales, right? So those are the amount of money that you sell versus the amount of money that you've collected. Those are two different numbers. That data is really important. You want to know what is the percentage of money that you are collecting as opposed to the number that you're selling in a 90-day period of time or in a year's period of time or year after year. Here's the other thing it shows you, especially year after year, is that every single industry has the ups and the downs, right? Like it's a cycle that's natural to that industry. In the Pacific Northwest, and I don't know about other places in the world or in the country, in the Pacific Northwest, when the weather gets great, people tend to be outside. And so in my business, and I tend to be outside, right? I'm going on in Vanya for a month from June to July. And so my business slows down. Client acquisition slows down. Sales slows down. And I can see it, right? Year over year. So I don't panic in July because my numbers are down, because I can go back over 9 years worth of data and see, oh, that happens every year. Every year in July, it goes like this. Here's another thing. It used to be that Decembers were a really slow, dead month, because I don't know about you, but for me, the last half of the month is often so family focused and celebratory, and people aren't really focused on working. They're focused on ending the year and having some fun and relationships and all that, right? And so for the longest time, my Decembers would be really low in both in sales and in sales, which meant new customers coming into the business. Until when I saw that, I was like, I can change that. I'm going to actually actively put my energy into making a difference there. And I'm going to be able to see whether or not the strategies that I'm going to use are going to work, because I have history of what happens in December, right? And so I did. And now Decembers are often the best month of my year, which is crazy. But I would never have really thought about specifically what strategies to use in order to make that happen if I hadn't seen what I had already done before. So anyway, I have this spreadsheet, it's a spreadsheet tracking form. It has instructions. And if it's something that you'd be interested in having, just let me know and I will send it to you with the instructions. Okay. So that's kind of what I have to say about data. I'm really interested in how you use your data. Do you use your data? How do you use your data? How will you use it going forward? So let me know, and have a great week. And I will not be talking to you next week because I'm actually my best friend and I are going to take a workshop in Colorado learning how to do, we're going to learn how to punch needle. we decided we were going to do this during the pandemic, and now we're going away for a week together to do this workshop, and I'm so excited. Less about the punch needling, although that's going to be really fun, I assume, but mostly because I just get to spend time with somebody who I love so much and care so much, and we just haven't had the ability to just hang together, right? So I won't be here next week, but I will be here the week after. So I'll see you then. Have a great couple of weeks. Bye.